everybody. Oh,
Hello.
hi. Welcome to day 4 of RU204, querying, storing, and
Wow.
indexing JSON at speed.
It's the penultimate day.
It is the penultimate day. Thank you. Um, today is going to be a short one.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at some code base that's going to be implementing Redis Ohm search with Python and Node.js. If you caught us yesterday, we were going over how to implement search and how to search over JSON, and that was programmatically with Redis CLI. If you want to see that video in syndication, go ahead and check out youtube.com/Redis Inc. You can find all of our videos from this week covering RU204, as well as explainers, tutorials, and head in the corner videos where we're just kind of like coding along and you can watch us. Also, if you want to check us live or pretty live, go ahead and go onto our Redis Discord channel. It's discord.gg/Redis. And you'll be able to ask questions from us, other Redis developers, the general public, and more often than not, you can find any answer to your problems or questions. Also get some inspiration because there's a lot of people just hanging out, chat, see what's going on. Also, this course is basically a live version of what we have at Redis University. So go to Redis, just go to university.redis.com, and you'll find a bunch of different courses, this being one of them. And you'll be able to learn as much as you want about Redis, as well as the Redis Certified Developer Certification. And that's a really great exam that gives you a certificate that you can actually put onto your LinkedIn. It's verified by us, and it's just a nice feather in your cap. So, ready to get started?
I think so.
All right, awesome. And I apologize if I sound a little weird. I am getting a little under the weather with a cold, so.
And I'm getting over my cold. So when I mute, it's because I'm coughing too. So
it all works out.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, seriously. Alrighty, so we're going to be looking at simple code bases that are included within the RU204 GitHub repository. And I'll start, and we're basically going to look at implementing a JSON document schema, and then actually using that schema to create an index, and then finally searching within that index and retrieving results and displaying them. And this is kind of an example of what you would normally do within an application with Redis Ohm. So this is going to be with Node.js. And this is really good to read. I'm just going to go through the actual code base because I'll be able to explain it to you as we go along, but definitely look at the documentation and all the pages because this will show you exactly where everything is. Okay, so let me switch over and I'll start. So here, that could be a little bit bigger. There we go. This is going to be located in the repo under source, Node.js, and then Redis Ohm search example. And what I'm going to do first is flush the database. So flush DB. You can do these one-off commands with the Redis CLI, which I really like. And there we go. So I just emptied my database.
Yeah. I don't actually know what the flush DB command does.
Good question. So that actually removes everything from your database.
Okay, cool.
Flushes it down the toilet.
Fair enough.
Be mindful. I just completely erased my entire database, for better or worse. So it's not going to hold your hand. It's not going to say, "Are you sure?" Everything is going to be gone. So we did that. So we can call npm run load, which will reload all of the books. So just we can have a fresh database to kind of like tool around on. And now let's first look at the code. So I want to start looking at model, actually. So models where we're going to be actually describing, I'm sorry. Let's look at load data.
So
Load
is
data.
that what you just ran? I don't really understand like the whole npm run load. What did you just load?
Yeah, so the package.json, you can have these little commands,
Okay.
load and search.
Okay.
Load ran the command node load data.js.
Okay. So it did run that load data file. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what this does, we can check it out. We're first, start at model. Model's the good start. So model is the schema. So when we were calling ft.create, and we were listing that schema of different data types and their aliases and like what kind of data type they are. This is what we're going to be implementing in JavaScript. So we're creating a book schema, and this should be similar from Tuesday when we were creating schemas with Redis. We have author, ID, and description are all, we have strings and we have text. And text is just a different field that we can actually pass in. So you can do full text search and then string search. Genres, again, remember that that's a tag, an array of tags. So we're setting it as a string and in square brackets. Pages is a number. So we're actually setting it to type number, sortable, true. And then title is going to be text because you can have like a large sentence within it. URL will be a string. And then year published is going to be of type number and then sortable true, similar to pages. And again, JavaScript's Redis OM does not have embeddable object capabilities yet, so it can't actually dive into and manipulate embedded objects as of December 2022. So we're flattening the metrics embedded object. So we have rating, votes, and score, both of types number, on the child level, on the first level. And lastly, we're creating all of these keys with the prefix RU204 Redis OM node : book. So when we do index these, they're all going to have the same key. So it's easily indexable. So now that we know model, let's look at load data. So we are first importing the client, the Redis OM client at the first line. We're importing the book schema from model. And then these are just some utilities. We have a file path for our location of our books JSON. So this is where all of our JSON files are, original JSON files are for our books. We're creating a new client here. We're setting up a connection to Redis. The book repository is us fetching the book schema from the client. So this allows us to actually manipulate the database with new book objects. So it's expecting book objects. So here, we're actually going to be going through all the different files from that file path. So all the different JSON files, we're going to be iterating through every single JSON object. And then for every JSON object, we're going to be creating a new entity. So book repository.create entity. That means that we're creating a new book object from that JSON. And so you can see here, it's a one-to-one conversion of author, ID, description, genre, pages, title, all of this. Once we actually have created that, you might remember from Tuesday, it has its own unique ID, a ULID, and it's ready to go. So once we do that, we'll call save on book repository, and we'll pass in that new book that we created. And then here as a convenience, we're actually printing out stored book and then the title. After that's all done, then we actually, to create the index, we're calling book repository.create index. Now, this is very different from Redis CLI when we're actually creating ft.create in that big long line of all the different things, because we already created that schema list. And because we actually passed in JSON, it just knows that it's JSON. So create index is just basically calling create index with all the information that we've already given it. So that's really nice. We don't have to pass in any extra code or anything like that. And then we close our client because we, are good bookkeepers. We're good. We keep a tidy house.
Yeah.
that's what I just did here. You'll see here where it's saying stored book Firelight, stored book Snow Crash, A Bridge
Snow
of Years.
Crash.
Yeah. Have you read that one?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I just did. So I now have in my database, let's verify. There we go. All these book objects. So we have all the keys, and these are all the keys. You notice they have that Redis ohm node : book now, and it has all the.
I have not read this one about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meeting for the first time.
Oh boy, that's a huge description. That's amazing. It's a comic. Awesome. Well, we'll have to add that to our book list. You also notice here that we have an index. So this is this isn't actually interesting to look at, but we have created an index and it has its own value as a string. But it's not interesting to look at within the Redis Insight. So cool. We have all of that there. So now let's go to search ohm example.
I'm going to raise my hand real quick to ask a question and also to say hello again. Thank you for tuning in for day 4.
Oh yeah, hello.
Can that schema be dynamic, like in the JSON.set? I don't think it can be. I think that's part of like that model, those key prefixes. That's part of your model definition. Yeah.
I think that you might be able to like actually, I mean, you can always call commands to drop index. Updating schema. I'm trying to think. I think you might be able to.
Okay.
I was looking at something really weird and meta near the end at advanced topics.
Okay. Well, so maybe we'll find out today and we'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll probably see it tomorrow. Yeah. But that's a good question. With our actual example of querying Redis, we're going to want the client, of course, from Redis ohm. We're also going to want the book schema that we had from model. We're creating a new client for Redis. We're grabbing our book repository, which is our interface with our database for books. That's also going to give us our index. We have a utility function here, which is going to be print results. Your mileage may vary, but this is for us to actually send in a query and then send in the result set. So the query description is going to be, the query description is like, we're searching for books with such and such attributes, and then here's the actual results. They iterate through the results and they just print them out. We'll see later. So here's the actual queries in action. So search for books written by Stephen King returns a list of book objects. So it's as simple as book repository .search where author equals Stephen King, return all. So Guy Royce,
very readable.
Very readable. He worked very hard to create many methods to make this as readable and close to human language as possible. And it's really nice. Everything you think as far as negation and inclusion, and it's all there. It's really great.
Nice.
So yeah, it looks well. It looks great. So this one is going to grab all Stephen King books, and then we're going to call print results Stephen King books, and then all the books. This one, search for books with star in the title that are over 500 pages long, and then we're going to order them by length. So we're going to search for titles that match star, and pages is greater than 500.
Okay, so there's that huge difference between where the author equals Stephen King and where the title matches star.
Right. Yeah. So up here, the author necessarily must be Stephen King, and this one matches means that it matches that required star. So there's a star in the title.
Yeah. Do we know if that also requires that the S be uppercase in the word star?
I don't think so. I think it lowercases it, but we can actually play with that after we run it.
That's fair.
And then if you want to add compound queries, you just do and. So this on itself, where
how readable.
Yeah, It's so great. Thank you, Guy. And pages is greater than 500. And then sort ascending pages. So we're going to get the smallest pages to the largest pages. And return all. So you see this dot return all. That's pretty standard for get everything, but you can say return a specified amount. And I'll show you where this grand repository is for Redis Home after this. So this one, we're searching for books with star, but not war in the title. And it doesn't have space in the description. This sounds like a challenge. So no Star Wars books. And it has to have star in the title, but it can't have the word
it can't be about space
in description.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, and again, how it reads out, where title matches star and title not matches war, and description not matches space. That just, it reads so well.
Yeah.
And then this one, search for books by Robert Heinlein, published between 1959 and 1973. And this one, it's bigger, but it's not too complex. It's where author equals Robert A. Heinlein, and year published is greater than 1958, and year published is less than 1974, and then we'll sort descending year published. And so, yeah, we have this greater than and less than helper methods. It just, wow, good job. And those are going to be our, yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Oh, that's just going to be our set of queries, and then we'll just close shop by calling client.close.
I was going to say, I feel like everyone watching this now or later on YouTube is like, where's she looking? And I'm like, I'm Googling who Robert A. Heinlein is, because I know that name. Like, and now I know he wrote Starship Troopers. Yep.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Now I'm very curious if Starship Troopers has space in the description, or if we're going to see that one and they're all going to connect on star.
Oh yeah.
Because it was published in 1959. Wow. So it'll show up in this one.
I knew it was an old book, but I didn't know it was that old. That's awesome. Would you like to know more?
Yes, that's why I want you to run all these queries.
All right. So npm, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see more. npm run search. All right. So we got a lot of stuff back. Let's take a look at it. So here's the first one. This is going to be Stephen King books. And here's all the Stephen King books. And then how many pages and when it was published. And how did we sort these? We didn't. Okay, so these are just unsorted. And yeah, there we go. So these are all the books. What else do we have? We have the star in the title. So this is just anything with star in the title. So William Shakespeare's Star Wars. Okay. We have, looks like we have a bunch of Star Wars books. Jedi Academy 3. Oh, we saw that previously.
Yep. The Phantom Bully. It's about middle school Jedis.
It's adorable. They're not quite younglings, not quite Padawans.
Yeah.
Star Wars, another one there. Agent to the Stars, River of Stars, Morning Star, Void Star, and then another Star Wars. The Country of Ice Cream Star. Interesting. So now this one is a little bit more complex. We have star and not war in title and no space in description. So interesting.
But we still got Star Wars. Yeah, so is that not war? Is that an exact match, I guess?
Yeah, that's very interesting. But no space in title. And it's no space in description. So this one must not have space in the description. Before we continue, I'm very curious. Let's add wars. And then see if that actually changes it. Okay. Oh, yep.
Star and not war, yeah.
So here are all the books about star, but not wars in title.
Yeah.
Forgot to update that.
That's like an actual just string. That's a hard-coded string. That's not like the actual query.
Yeah, this is hard-coded.
Yeah.
And then Robert Heinlein books published from 1959 to 1973. There we go. Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Wow, he has a lot of different books. All you zombies. Huh. Very cool. Very, very interesting. So yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, Redis Ohm for Node is really great. Guy's been working on it really hard. He's been doing some amazing stuff. And Labale, who is also within Redis working on it. This is the actual repository. So it's github.com/redis-ohm.node. Let me post that into the chat so everybody has it if they want to click onto it. And this is a really good read. This shows you how to set everything up, all the different options. Basically, guy goes through like a record collection and how to go search through records. So it's kind of throws in a new model to kind of play with. It shows how you can still execute normal commands. So if you wanted to actually update your table, or I'm sorry, update your schemas and redeploy your index, you could actually do it here, or just do arbitrary commands. And yeah, it's a great read. I highly recommend you check it out. It shows you all the different data types, which is really important. Lots and lots of document examples. Yeah, look at how we can search by number. So you can do equals 1984, GT greater than, GTE greater than or equal, LT less than, or not equal, or not greater than, or not between. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can actually pick your own kind of like flavor within Redis Ohm to just work with you. So Booleans where out of publication is false, return all, or where out of publication is true. So it reads just amazingly well. And I can't not stop praising Guy for all of this, because this just takes a lot of work. Yeah. So that's that. That's Redis Ohm for Node. If you want to share Redis Ohm for Python, we can see
I will.
Different way of doing the same thing.
That screen, I made a little note I figured I would follow your order. So we're going to start with model.py. And like I mentioned yesterday, if you were here, the Python OM client does have our embedded JSON models. They are also all built to accept any Pydantic models. So we've got positive int, positive float, and any HTTP URL. So those are sort of like defined types from Pydantic that we get to use with the OM client for Python. So we've got our metrics embedded JSON model. This should look very similar to what we saw yesterday with our Redis Ohm model. It might be the exact same. I have not compared them character for character, but it will look very similar. We've got our inventory embedded model and our JSON model where we've got author as a string. The field, we are indexing it to true, which means that we are creating that index, which if you weren't here beforehand, that index equals true basically means we're going to store a little bit of metadata about it. That way we can search for that thing in particular. If we don't have that index, we can still store the data. It's just not quite searchable. So we're doing our IDs, we're doing our description, our genres, our inventory, and here you can see we have a list of those embedded JSON models. Our metrics is another embedded model. Pages is a strictly positive int. And there is that sortable equals true. Oh, so that's what I was looking for. You'll notice, if you were paying attention, that in the OM node model, there was strings and there was text. Here, everything is a stir, but we can mark it as full text search. So that's where that text versus string difference comes in the Python OM client. We've got a URL and another positive int for the year published. And then this is that meta class where we're setting those key prefixes that we talked about a little bit earlier. Give me 1 second. Casually coughing up a lung still. Not coughing up a lung. I had a teacher once actually cough up a lung because he'd had a heart attack and like damaged part of his lung tissue. I am not actually coughing up a lung. It is.
Oh,
I'm okay.
That's good. That's good to hear.
So then we'll pop over to load data.py and we'll see we're importing IO JSON OS. We're importing from model our book. And then from Redis OM, we're importing migrator, which is another big difference for the OM Python client. It has this migrator tool, and you'll see where we use that later. But so then, I did not mean to collapse all of that. We're going through our file names in the os.listdir, which is going to give us, it's going to list everything in this directory. We're going to do some path joining to get that just sort of F file name. We're going to make sure that it is in fact a file, which is cool. We're doing some extra checks here to make sure we're only opening book files. And then we're going to json.load. We're going to make our books. So book equals capital B book, which means that it is this book. It's our model book. Star book JSON basically just says like, hey, this is a JSON model. It's a variable. Turn it into this thing. Now it's a book. Save it. Print that we stored it. And you can see here we've already got like that book.title. I could already do things like print book.author. And like it already knows what it is because that's the model that we've made. It knows all of the variables that we've put into that model and what their types are. So that's how you kind of know that it's working. And then migrator.run. And that is like the OM Python, very handy dandy, easy way to create those indexes. And then we will print that we created the search index. So I have not run that. I'm going to follow Justin's example and do a little, what was it, just flush DB?
Yep, flush DB.
Flush DB. Okay. So then we'll do load data. And now we've got all of our books back. Cool. And we created that search index. So in our search OM example, we still need that from model import book. And we've got that same, not quite same, the Python equivalent of the print results function, which basically just sort of, it's not quite pretty print, but it's essentially like a pretty print type function where we'll print what we're trying to query and then each result in the result set and some handy dandy lines. That way it helps us like separate all of those things. Cool. So then we're going to search for books written by Stephen King. And here we just have book.author equals full string quote Stephen King. So very, very Pythonic looking here. And then instead of that .return.all, we just have .all. But as a whole, very similar looking, very similar sounding. And here we're searching for books with star in the title that are over 500 pages long, ordered by length. So here we've got a modulo, which is, it's not a modulo, but it's the percent operator. I guess I should clarify. It is not modulo because this is a string. We are not doing math. This is just book.title. I don't want to say contains because like that's also like a stir.contains thing. But that is essentially the equivalent
matches
of matches. Yes.
Yep.
And then and parentheses books.pages greater than 500 sort by pages. So here, instead of doing that .all, we have that .sort by. I don't think it would throw any errors if I added the .all at the end of this, but it's not here for this one, which I just think is like something to call out as far as the differences in the clients and sort of what that syntax looks like and all of that. So always check your documentation for what you are using because your mileage will vary. Yeah, so then star, but not war. So now I'm very curious if this is going to also give us Star Wars or not. So star, so contains matches star. And here we've also got the and, not, the classic not operator of a tilde. Book.title matches war, and not book.description matches space. And then all books by Robert A. Heinlein and the year published, strictly greater than 1958 and strictly less than 1974. Sort by -sign year published. So I'm pretty sure that's descending year published.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
would make sense. So now we're going to run. Here we go.
Nice.
And yeah, that looks like descending order. So let's find, we've got our Stephen King books. Very cool. And then we've got our star and title, more than 500 pages books. All checks out. Star and not war. Yeah, so, but there's William Shakespeare's Star Wars.
Cool. So they are a one-to-one translation for Python and for Node. That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's good to know.
So that's the whole we don't really do substring matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Cool. And then we've got our Robert Heinlein books. There is Starship Troopers and All You Zombies.
Nice.
And if you are curious, if you Google Redis OM Python, here's the GitHub for it. It also has some handy dandy examples. This starts off with a customer, and I don't think the examples here are quite as extensive.
I know that there's a lot of embedded documents within this repo.
There are.
Yeah, we'll show you how to do a lot of different things.
There are. So it's not quite all right here. There is the Redis OM documentation is available here.
There you go.
So you can check out some of that stuff, learn all about how to create model instances, define fields, validating data, read how to get Redis search and Redis JSON. So there's some more embedded stuff there. So you have to dig a little bit more for the Redis OM Python. It's not just quite all in that README with the different search operators and everything. But for the most part, you'll still be able to find what you're looking for. And if you can't, come ask us on Discord.
Yeah. And this one was, I believe, kind of written between RU203 and RU204. So I think the Python Redis OM was kind of like the first one that was being integrated. So that's why Andrew, which you might have remembered from past, was a dev advocate at Redis. He wrote a lot of it. So a lot of that's piggybacking off of the development cycle of RU203. So that's why it's kind of different. But cool. That was awesome. We went through Redis OM for Node and for Python, and it's nice seeing the similarities and differences. I mean, the OM Python is very Pythonic, and the Node.js OM is also very JavaScripty. So yeah, it's just fun to see the differences. And those are living libraries. So if you want to see a change, or if you have a question, by all means, create an issue or just go through the GitHub repo for the issues and existing PRs and see what's going on, and let your voice be heard. Or, as always, you can also let your voice be heard within our Discord, discord.gg/Redis.
I was going to say, you can also let your voice be heard by just writing the code and trying to get it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
People
Never.
will absolutely give comments. If you've written some code, people will point out what should be different, whether or not you are really hitting it. People will ask for tests and all that.
Yeah.
But it is open source. You can do your best to contribute to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to circle back to a question previously. Can a schema be a dynamic here? Like put the schema in a JSON set and load it on the fly. I do believe you could do that, but the specific command that I think that we would want to use here is going to be, and I'll talk about this in more depth tomorrow, but just to give you a preview, it's ft.alter. And so you can add new attributes to the index, and that will trigger a re-indexing, or you could actually choose to not re-index old ones, things like that. So there is capability to do that, but I just wanted to call that out, and we can actually go over that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, just to be sure, everybody, you can see this video and the previous videos and the future videos on YouTube. That's going to be for the other days of our RU204 live. We're just doing the entire course in 1 week. And you can see our explainers and any other content and live streams that we've had. And again, this course is on Redis University. So go to university.redis.com, sign up, and you can take tons of courses or our certified developer program and get a nice fancy certificate on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. And as you can see from this stream versus yesterday's stream, if you watch day 3, there's a wide variety of how long some of these things take. And really, it's kind of like a how much you want to do. You know, we get a little bit sidetracked, and especially when we're talking about books.
Right.
Speaking of, just to highlight it for everyone online, The Dark Tower, which we talked about yesterday, is going to become a TV series. So like that's exciting. But also, you know, I ask questions and we're interjecting. So if you're doing these courses, just know you might not have quite as much variation of going from 2 hours to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But there is some variation in, you know, how much you can do with really how many questions you want to ask.
Yeah, great point.
But the more questions you ask, the easier the certified developer exam will probably be.
That's very, very true. It is not an easy exam. It is quite tough. When I first took the exam, I'm not going to tell you the grade, but it's not up to my expectations. I had to take it a couple more times till I was actually happy. So
fair enough. Yeah.
And yeah, like
so, the more exploration you do, the easier all of this becomes, and the more you know. But you know, if you ask no questions, you can breeze through it.
Yeah. And yeah, feel free to break stuff. You know, when we were playing with like looking for stars but not war, we noticed that Star Wars was still there. So
yeah,
I added the S to see what would happen. There's absolutely no consequence for just trying things out in the sandbox and learning, because that's how you remember things. So.
Well, and especially with just doing like searches and aggregates, you're not even really changing anything. It's like you're not going to break anything. Like the worst you're going to do is get nothing back and be like, oh man. Well, I guess the worst is if you get like a syntax error.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, you're not breaking anything. You're exploring the data, and that's cool. And you should do that.
Data nuts. Would be.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Tomorrow will be our last day where we will be covering advanced topics. So
so yesterday and tomorrow will be long ones, but today was a nice little short search.
Little code demo. So yeah, hopefully I'll sound a little bit better, be a little bit less honky. I'm very cranial right now. I feel like a brachiosaur. And then yeah, tomorrow at 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern, and we'll be on the same bat time, same bat channel.
Cool. See you then.
See everybody.